recording's running, so we'll call the meeting to order. Karen, roll call, please.
Doug.
Here.
Karen.
Here.
John.
Here.
Jerry.
Here.
Kathy.
Here.
All right, and we'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion for the agenda.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John?
Aye. Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, next up, consent agenda, claims list, and a resolution approving investment policy. Do we need any narrative on that?
No, the investment policy is really standard, but by law it has to be reviewed every 3 years. So it's a very generic policy that just adheres to the Iowa code, which says that cities don't invest in like futures or really high risk paper type of investments. So
I didn't know any better, so I read it.
yeah, I mean it's pretty vanilla.
Were there any changes from what it was before,
No.
other than the watermark?
No,
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye. Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, next up is public hearing for Lot 2 of the Peosta Energy Park 3rd Edition. And with nobody here from the public and nobody online, I'm going to assume we don't need to wait a whole lot of time for this. So the public hearing is currently open.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second that. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye. Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, next then is the resolution providing for the conveyance and transfer of the title of property to Schaefer Company.
I'll make a motion for resolution providing conveyance and transfer of title of property described herein by the city of Peosta, Iowa to Shipper Company International, authorizing execution and delivery of deed. I'll second that. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye. Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, and next one up is the first of the administrative items related to the fund balance classifications for fiscal year 20.
Does anyone want an explanation on that? This is something we do every year when probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, the Department of Management changed the annual financial report where you could assign funds. So funds are now either restricted, assigned, or unassigned. You have to put that on your annual financial report. So this is part of that GASB ruling. So typically we assign for the street reserves, the police car replacement, the park reserves, and the PCC reserves account. That's pretty standard every year that we've done that.
So Karen, this first item, with that understanding, it does say a type action. What's the action we take on this?
Just a motion. So over the administrative content, you can see the motion that was made last year.
That's item B, or is that item B?
That's item A. It's just a simple motion assigning funds.
I'll make a motion to sign the funds. Accordance GASB 54.
Right down on the second. Is that as far as you can?
That's as far as I know. Doug, aye.
Can I get a second? Kathy, I'm sorry.
Oh, I
Oh,
didn't say.
yeah, Kelly's in there.
I said to you.
Kelly's
So we had a motion and a second.
Okay.
John?
Jerry, aye.
Kathy?
Karen, is it a separate resolution then, authorizing the budgetary transfers?
Yes. We have about 2 or 3 of these transfer resolutions every year. These are regularly scheduled transfers of funds from like sewer operating funds to where we pay the debt out of. Same thing. We did have what we consider some good news. The PCC, after all was said and done, was needed this $55,000 transfer to break even. So that includes the $40,000 that the city, from the city general fund, that we had transferred that to their reserve fund in December. So obviously with COVID, it was that 40 that was needed to come to their operating account and an additional 15, which accounts for the capital projects. They did the floor and the kitchen and some other stuff in the weight room. So really, all things considered, I know Stacy bombed out because had things kept on pace, they would have had just a fantastic year. But really, all things considered, to break even with, we missed 2 months of membership payments, several tens of thousands, almost $100,000 probably in wedding revenue. So that was, I guess, a little glass half full moment. So that's what these transfers are. By law, these have to be presented to the council.
Make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing budgetary transfers fiscal year 2020.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, next up is a resolution approving the plat of survey for Energy Park 4th edition.
So this plat is the other half of the plat that you guys approved last week. We would have had them both, but we didn't know if they were going to come in 2 plats. We thought it would be on 1 plat, but because they were had 2 separate owners, they came in as 2 plats. It was too late to add this one to the other agenda. So this is just the plat containing the parcel that AJ is going to sell Schiffer for their addition.
I thought that was included in last week's. It wasn't.
No.
Included. That was just the part that we were selling.
Well, yeah, Mike Weber conducted, it was 1 survey, but the county dictated that it had to be submitted on 2 separate plats. So, yeah, we got that the day of the council meeting, so we couldn't amend the agenda. So
Gotcha.
but we were,
Can you help me appreciate the one that we had in the last meeting? Where is it relative to what I'm looking at this week?
directly.
Right where Legend is. See where the Legend? So this is the road. This is Peosta Street here.
Okay.
Just that little void right there.
Ours
This-
is east.
That's a substation.
So lot 1 is the substation?
Lot 2 is the
But what's
substation.
south of
Lot 1
the
is the
P,
police
but-
station.
Oh, that's AJ. Oh, yes, sorry, but our parcel is east
So
of
the police station
Right.
is here.
So it's like AJ's long strip and then
And they got
ours
the parking lot, and then the
is where
substation's
he's
back
gonna
here.
go up.
And then they got an easement for that
Oh.
driveway to get there.
AJ's little strip in the
So
behind
where's the police
behind the
department?
electrical stuff you're
Right
saying?
This guy.
Well, is it in
Oh wait,
lot
no,
1?
sorry, here,
Yeah, lot
here's what.
Is that what you said, lot 1?
Yeah, so what's in,
That's where-
what's
That
between,
was ours.
Yes,
I was,
so here's
I
the,
don't think lot 1 is defined, to tell you the truth. It's not shown there, because it should come down Peosta Street and then go over to the other lot.
I
okay, here's
don't
so
know.
Piasta Street's
It should
here.
square
Oh,
off
no, you're
there.
right, here,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Here's the police station, here's
just
the lot
defined
we
lot 2
sold
and
and here's
lot
what
1
AJ is
of it.
selling. AJ is selling a lot, ours is right here.
Closer to the building.
It is, the building's right here.
Oh, okay.
So the PD's right here, so we just gave him this little nugget AJ's given that whole, or buying that whole nugget, so then he's gonna expand to the north up that whole area.
Yeah, I thought this was our whole section and then his was, his was behind.
You could have given a little more detail, make it a little easier. Right here's Peosta Street, you know.
Right, yeah.
And then broke down.
Well, that was the only direction that
Yeah,
there
we
was.
don't have any,
it
so
was-
the substation is right here.
Okay.
PD's right there. And then
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Yeah.
So Whitney, just for the clarification, I
Yeah.
think you just gave Kathy, the one we did last week is here to the right
Correct.
of Lot 1.
That's exactly right.
It's between Lot 1 and Peosta Street.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Does that make sense for you two as well? This was the lot that we dispositioned last week.
2 lot 1 is that
And then the
wrong?
rest of that going straight back.
Well, it's
So
third edition.
it's all that hill. If you think of the property, it's that sloped
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And is
section.
that just gonna change? Is that why it goes from second to third to fourth?
Yeah, so the first one was when they,
Wait.
they sectioned off or they parceled off where.
Right, correct. Because the
electric
PD is right
substation
here.
went.
Okay.
And
Substation's
then
here.
with the PD, that was the second one, so then
Oh.
ours
Station
was the
right
third,
here.
when they parceled, and then AJ sold them out.
That became the
Substation.
fourth, okay.
AJ's selling this. AJ's
But the
selling
lot 2, isn't that where the substation is? Or is
Nope.
there, there's a lot
Substation's
between?
here.
that. Substation's in that big empty
It's in
area.
Lot 1.
Lot one of
In the middle.
Gas
And-
Energy Park.
so that's
first,
behind
and
us.
Here's the substation, yeah.
Oh, so you didn't, so there's actually, is this our lot then right here?
This is our lot, yep.
Where it says the note box, that's the PD.
That's a little lot. Okay.
Yeah.
He should probably give a more definition.
I think he does have that mismarked though, because it should be Gas Energy Park fourth edition, or third edition here, for what we own, right? We don't own that.
Yeah.
I assume that lot 2.
Our third edition is over there. Ours is third edition.
All right. John, did you hear enough of that to satisfy your needs?
Another lot, so.
It could be.
Yeah, I understand all that.
Is
Okay.
there another lot behind the electrical stuff then, or what is that?
Lot 2.
Is that still an
Yeah,
AJ lot back there? And then there's this piece over here.
Lot two, that lot two has a skinny little,
And this chunk.
Right,
Yeah, looks like it's just over an acre.
by the driveway going in, and then around the back. So that's all AJ property?
It is, it's our, I mean, it's pretty much worthless. I mean, there's just not a lot. I don't know, eventually maybe the substation, I don't know if the substation would ever need to expand or something, but that'd probably be the only.
It looks like it's an acre.
I think
Yeah.
I kept that for utilities rather than self-exchange.
Anybody in Shane's house?
Oh, that long,
Yeah.
that
May
easement?
not.
No. She's talking about.
That's great.
All right. Well, if we got clarity on that, the action to us is a motion to approve the resolution, approving the plat of the survey that we just talked through.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of, plat of survey, Peosta Energy Park, 4th edition.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Fair enough.
Karen,
Aye.
Jerry, I.
Kathy, aye.
All right. Last up then is the substance abuse services report.
this was at the request of the substance abuse services to put this on our agenda for the council to review. No action necessary.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, I can forward them back to Jerry Lelo.
I did read through this, and the only question I had is, what prompted them to do this? Is this,
I think it might be an annual thing.
and it's spurred by, it's triggered by something outside of us,
I would believe so, yes.
that they will come into town and survey and come up with these results?
They probably do it through the school.
Okay.
I know I sent that email kind of on the.
Oh, is that on, for the same topic?
No, were there any other questions on the topic?
Okay.
So we need to receive the file or anything?
No, we just,
Move on.
yeah, move on.
Okay,
Apologize.
no worries. So our last, oh, this will be our last agenda item then.
Yes.
Take it away,
So,
Kelly.
I sent an email out to you, and then also snuck it in there on board docs, about, Peosta Pays update, and just to let you know where we are at with things. We are currently, out of checks. We are down to $300 in the checking account. And I have talked to Whit about a few things. We've made a few changes to what we originally had set for allotments per person, per household, because this has been extremely overwhelming and phenomenal. It's been perceived profoundly. I mean, they are sending in not $100 worth of receipts. They're usually $400, $500 worth of receipts. So I guess I'd like some guidance from the council as to how you want to proceed with this. Do you want to proceed with this?
Did we talk the last time about involvement with the businesses in town?
We did, we didn't feel like, the reason that we started this, and I believe that was started, was because there were some businesses that weren't even open, and so it was to help maybe support businesses. Once they turned in the receipts, then they'd be able to continue to spend their dollars there. With going forward, I think that that's probably a place for either a committee or a commission, or however you want to set that up, to go out.
I just think that if you're gonna continue with it, there has to be something else. You can't just keep giving.
Right, so
giving,
that's,
giving. I mean, there was no, monetary limit or time frame limit on this ever considered?
I don't know the answer to that because I wasn't in that initial. I mean, there were dollars that were originally set that was, it was supposed to be $250 per person.
But you didn't abide by that?
We tried. I mean, at first I absolutely did. If you look at the spreadsheet, I was doing everything I could, but the funds ran extremely low, extremely fast. And so as the city, I mean, we had already come back once asking for an additional $3,000.
Right.
So I felt it in the best interest of the city to try to get as many of these applications processed as we possibly can, or we possibly could, with the dollar amounts of it, and whether right, wrong, or otherwise, I threw out the amount of at least doing $20. Now, if they submitted something that was only $100, which meant they got a $10 greenback, that's absolutely all they got. But that was very few and far between. So, like I said, I felt like we did the best we could with what was available to us. But that kind of takes you back, I think, to what you were saying is, how much more do you want to continue to give and give and give? And that's the question that, you know, I don't have the answer to, so that's what I'm looking for. I've recorded how many more are sitting out there. In order for us to order even more checks, it's going to cost us $100. I did call Fidelity today. They would be willing to give us $30 worth of money orders, or excuse me, 30 money orders to cover that $300 and waive all the fees to that. If you choose to not only do that and not go further with anything else. I wanted to give you an idea of how many people, I mean, we cut it off as of June 23rd, and these are still the applications that we had received through June 30th or 23rd. So there are a couple more that are in there that are past that probably, what did he submit?
$1,600 and some dollars.
1646.
Anytime anybody
And
spends.
there was no limit on it. I thought there was a limit.
There was $1,000 per business. So if he submitted, like if he purchased a vehicle at D&D Auto for $5,000, 1,000 of that could be processed into greenbacks, which then he got $100 for.
Okay.
So that $600 was probably from the various receipts that we saw, and I kind of stopped tracking once we decided that we weren't even going to that limit anymore. I mean, Fairway was hit the, I mean, $500 probably should have been $200. Because seriously, I mean, everyone that, up until that point, had that $500 for Fairway. So if you took a $1,000 car purchase from D&D Auto, you had $500 worth of receipts from Fairway. I mean, the stack of receipts that are attached to some of these are huge, which is great. That means that people are spending money in Peosta. But yeah, absolutely, if they had limits, I abided by them. I never processed anything more.
So the 2,000 extra we gave only lasted a month, if that.
Well, she had backed up receipts at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
So that was already dead.
And that was $3,000 that was done at,
3,000. So it's 5 total.
on May 27th.
Yeah.
So we put 5,000 in, theoretically, that's $50,000 worth of Peosta's business. Not theoretically, it's at least that.
It's at least that. Because if you look, there's a lot of them that I have in red, highlighted, the cell highlighted in red, where I only provided them $20 because
We started this when?
that's all we could.
When did we start this, Kelly?
Well, those amounts are only $215, isn't that only?
It was April, it was.
Ninth was
April 9th when we rolled it out.
Yeah.
There's no denying it's popular.
Oh, I think the timing is great for the city, to tell you the truth, $5,000.
John, how are we doing? Are you able to track with the conversation so far?
Yeah, I can track this conversation.
Okay.
I
Was
really
this
don't want to
for
say.
outside city residents? It was for,
It was for everyone. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just don't want to see it go away. I don't know if there's something that the city can come back to the businesses and say, we're going to put another $5,000 in and see if businesses can come back and match that now. For another 5,000, so
At some point, we're gonna have to go to that.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can't just keep,
Well, and they're using it promotional too, I would assume. D&D, right? You can use this up to $1,000, you get that back, so, you know what I mean? I don't know if Fairway's doing anything like that, but that would also help their business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can put together a little campaign and ask. I mean, that's just something absent of a board, which we're working on. It's just been a weird time. But either way, even if you had a board, they wouldn't be established now anyway. So that piece is sort of irrelevant. You know, that's the direction we need to move. That I would just want to make sure politically that's something that council's ready to do.
as far as us supporting that, you're going to a meeting with the
Yeah, so like I would envision us, we would put together probably a PCA letter, just really at this point talking about Peosta base because really that's the only, it's a major tenet of the organization saying here's what we've had, we've put together these statistics in terms of participants and then say, like the program to continue, we're looking for a private sector, a public-private partnership, and would you be interested, the city's gonna match, you know, whatever, and then see, I mean, I don't have any kind of a feel.
We can roll out like a media campaign too, where they can put it on the outside of the doors and stuff too.
Yes.
Peosta pays, we
Well,
support
yeah,
Peosta
it's
pays.
a little vinyl, cheap little vinyl sticker, yeah.
support Peosta Pays. Granted, you'd have it different from Fairway. Would be a little bit bigger. D&D, you know, they can
Right.
have a little higher.
Oh,
But they, I don't know how you want to break it out.
there may be some good supporting motivation in that spreadsheet that Kelly's got.
Yep.
Because it shows how many dollars worth of receipts were received from each one of these businesses. That'd be a good number to take right back to those same businesses and say, here's what the program,
Here's
you know,
2
the
months.
activity that is associated with the program, whether you would have had it or not. You might debate that, but
And just ask for a fraction of it, right?
yeah.
Just ask
Can-
for a monetary donation here. If you can, we'll get you this sticker and stuff like that, make you part of the program. And then we'll probably hit you up again when it runs out again.
Yeah, and that's why we really would want to eventually get it organized into, you know, like an annual, probably like every 2 years. So here's your commit to an annual contribution that includes support for X, Y, Z items, whatever those are. And that's what we actually do more work in really thinking about what we want out of the development work, but
And right now we probably do quarterly, you know, just smaller payments.
right.
Just get it going, something small.
Would it be easy to sort out all the businesses and so like you pick on D&D Auto and say this is how many receipts we got from your business through this program, and we'd like to see your support and keep this program going or something? You know, make it specific to each business so the business knows, you know, Casey's or Fairway knows how much money was turned into us through it.
And they might be interested to see that number.
I absolutely can provide all of that stuff. I will tell you that I will probably say that Fairway was your number 1. D&D Auto was number 2, but that's a little bit skewed because when people are purchasing a vehicle, it's easy to hit that $1,000 mark.
Yep.
Versus taking,
Well, and we need to probably redraft those limits.
250 max maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think
At one location.
the models we looked at were really retail only, more like small retail, but just because we don't have enough small retail here, so there was no other way but to open it up, but we may just have to adjust that, because we don't want this to keep happening, is basically 10% of it, the money that goes in there, get used up on one person.
Hey, Whitney, one thing I'm sitting here thinking is, you know, on our side of it, it sure looks like it was a success because we got a lot of receipts. Is there a way that we can get with, say, Trackside or D&D Auto or pick, you know, or Fairway, and to see if they have, I guess, proof or numbers to show that they feel that it was a success?
Yeah.
To show that it wasn't, that this didn't impact their business? Because if we can in a meeting show to them, or they can show to us that it didn't impact their business, then we can have the next conversation saying, okay, we really want to keep this going, but the city just can't keep pouring money into it. Maybe that'll lead into that next conversation of, would you be willing to donate X amount of dollars?
Yeah, and even there might be, I mean, if we're gonna turn this into a PR campaign, I think that's a great idea, and then if we could even just get a couple of great quotes from residents saying, you know, I made sure, you know, I came home from Dubuque after work to get groceries here so I could participate in the Peosta Pays program. I mean, I know there are stories like that out there, people choosing to get their oil changed here as opposed to a West End Auto because they can use their seat. Yeah, I mean, I think it just, when it comes to a point cost, you don't really care, and you think, oh.
I would agree with that statement, and I feel like also with the bank statements, we can see where these dollars are turning around and being spent. When I look at them, again, the majority are at Fairway, but Red Roof, Trackside, Peosta Automotive, they all accepted them as well. So not only is it, the initial dollars, but they're turning around and going back to those businesses to spend them. And, and again, I believe that was the intent of, the program when it initially started, was to continue to, see those businesses be successful during this COVID.
agree with that. I just so we can tell if this money that we can spend anyway, it's just that we're supplementing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, if there's a way we can quantify that, this is where the money would have been spent in the Duke or wherever else, because this program was spent in Peosta.
Should remember to incentivize them.
So there's a number of decisions I hear that need to be made. First one is, do we want to, so right now it's currently suspended, right?
Correct.
There's no money, so we've publicly said we're suspending. So the first question is, do we want to restart it or not? And it sounds like the answer to that is yeah, we think it was worthwhile and we want to get it started up again. Is that right?
My opinion would be to come together with a plan and more organization before you start throwing money.
Well, I was going to head down to that.
Oh, sorry.
The first, because if we're not going to restart it, we don't have to hash out all the details, right? So are we agreed that we want to do this again?
Oh, I think it's good for the community.
I am.
I don't think we ought to do it now because she's already done a shut-off date, and she's reduced the amount of checks. So I think that we better leave it closed for now, and just okay enough money for her to get it paid out. And then we need to round up a steady income for this
Right, come up with an
Yep.
before we start it again.
Yep.
Hey,
But
if we started right back up, we'd still be the ones supplying the money.
right, I didn't mean to say we're going to restart it tomorrow. It's just, do we intend to restart it at some point? And if the answer is yes, then we have to go through and figure out how we want to adjust the policy. We have to figure out how to set up a more sustainable funding mechanism.
Lower the limits.
Yeah. So, but the first thing I was trying just to figure out is, does anybody think we should not restart this at some point in the near future? And I don't think I'm hearing anybody say that. So then there's a couple activities that we need to do. We need to revisit the policies. We learned, right? We took a best guess and we learned a little bit. So we should come back with how we would want to adjust the policy, and it sounds like specifically limits per receipt or per transaction, right? And limits per household. Did we have anything like that before?
All we had is per person.
Per person, okay.
So that each member of the household was.
Which is, and
What, residents only?
I didn't, and absolutely, that is something that you,
But I was actually kind of surprised.
that's why I kept,
Well, because the industrial park, there's a lot of work down there, and if you want to involve the businesses down there, their employees spend money in town too.
How many were outside?
How many?
I mean,
There's some,
Most of them
but not a lot, was there?
in town.
Kelly?
most of them were in town.
There's an app
Did you say
where
it's
it's
about 70%
farm
lower in town?
So we could do some analytics on that and make a
If the
decision.
dollar amount's high enough for outside, then maybe keep them, but
Just, I mean, you're right, though, it's a decision we should consider and make, whether we want to limit it to just Peosta residents or not.
it'd be nice to keep the money in Peosta, right? For the Peosta residents, since the Peosta residents are paying.
Well,
Well, but it is.
yeah, the nature of the greenbacks is you have to spend it here.
Because they have to spend it back in. I mean, if you're from the Butte, you come over here, you spend $1,000 at D&D, you submit it, the green bucks are only good for Peosta anyway, so they have to spend it back here anyway, so I wouldn't think that you'd want to limit it just to Peosta residents, because the money has to be spent back here anyway.
How many checks are still open?
So I agree with that, because ultimately what it is trying to get people to spend money in Peosta. And I guess my point of view would be, I don't care where they live, but if they're spending money in Peosta, that's ultimately what we want them to do, right?
Right.
Because they can't take that check to Hy-Vee and
Nope.
use it, right?
Yeah, I think that was part of the initial conception, was we were doing it to stimulate the businesses. We weren't doing it to just put $10 in the pocket of residents. It was, you guys initially thought of it as, stimulating the businesses, in which case, we don't care where people want to come spend their money. Where they're coming from, if they want to eat at Redwood, we just want to encourage them to eat there and then eat there again their next just to the Peosta residents, they couldn't survive strictly on the Peosta residents.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that'd be a nightmare for Kelly trying to sort through.
Are we seeing good turnaround on these checks? I mean, there's a lot of open checks out there.
We don't have the next statement, so, I think that's hard for me to determine right now. But, you know, I think they are. I feel like the last statement we received, there were, you know, several of them. And that's on that third tab down below. You can see which ones are clear and which ones are still outstanding, so.
Are there termination dates on the checks?
They're
90 days, right?
Is it 90 days?
Yeah, we did. I think we did.
I think it's automatically a 6-month.
Yeah, we put a little print, a little note on there.
Yeah. 'Cause that's a big.
I mean, there was a lot of checks cash. We really only got May because it started in April and it took us a while to get receipts. So April statement did end very late. So we really only have the May statement. We should shortly
Right.
have the June one. So I think it'll pretty much double our sample pool once we see June.
So I like capturing that. If we're going to kick this back off at some point, rebrand it, reset the policy, or adjust the policy based on what we've learned. I like the idea of being really clear that the goal is to promote, some wording out like this, promote business in Peosta, promote economic activity with Peosta businesses. And maybe we could also put a clarifying statement in there that Peosta businesses are defined as entities that pay commercial property taxes. And that may help, because I know when you look at the businesses in Peosta, there's a lot of businesses, but they're not on commercial property. So while I can fully appreciate the argument why we would otherwise want to promote more of that kind of activity, we've got to draw the line somewhere. And that gives us a nice clean line.
Evening, spending at Casey's or trackside versus some guy with something out of his house.
Right. And after all, if we're putting the money in, it is in our best interest to promote the businesses that are paying taxes to the city. All right.
Instead of like a dollar amount, some of them have numbers on them.
So which businesses on that list would you eliminate?
I don't know that I don't know of any as I sit here. I'd have to look at the list
Oh,
and,
no, he's not limiting. We got questions though from somebody that like, I take pictures out of my house and they wanted to be able to participate. And the problem is then you can't really delineate, unfortunately, what you just have people take advantage of it. Like, well, I paid my daughter $10 to babysit my little kid.
Yeah.
That's what we don't want. So there's really no, we have to like somehow separate or, pay my, neighbor $10 to. And you just basically have people trading cash. That just doesn't meet the goals of.
They have to have a sales tax number.
Yeah.
if that's a cleaner way to do it.
Identification number.
A what number?
Employee identification number and a sales tax.
Not necessarily, because
Well, your social security.
well, they could be incorporated and still working under their house.
So
Then they'd have an EIN.
Correct, but they're not paying commercial property taxes.
Well, nobody in
But if
Peosta
the-
pays.
Would we,
Commercial
Would it-
property.
would it-
Fairway does.
I think we
would it make
have
sense
somebody else.
to require the people that participate as far as the businesses to give us their FEIN number? Would that help eliminate some of that?
No, because we talked about, like daycare, and there's a super slippery slope of, in-home daycare, pampered chef,
Dog room.
The-
pure romance. It could just get real weird real quick.
Yeah.
And those people would all have EINs. It doesn't take anything to get EIN. I could have one in 30 seconds, but so because we don't have an excess of money anyways, I think we have to, and it would be great if we would encourage people to come uptown and lease space or.
what you
I
got,
want
Karen?
to address the commercial property taxes. There is one levy rate. However, there's the residential rollback. So the residential property is taxed at 50%. commercial industrial taxed at 90 of their valuation. So that's where we're talking about commercial property.
So we'll just have to define, you know,
Is
what
there a way of
qualifies for
knowing
business.
if any of
Right,
these
that's what I
people
was trying
are
to do.
purchasing stuff for their business?
Could you say the question again, Kathy? I'm sorry.
If people are buying stuff for their actual business and turning those receipts in, should that be permitted?
That's
Well-
wholesale, that's not a retail. That would be the difference.
I think we,
I don't know how-
so, well, I was asked this question by the Lundgrens, and I guess I mean, I don't know that we care. I prefer to buy his hot dog buns at Fairway as opposed to IB, so we didn't. But again, I think if anybody doing huge purchases would do wholesale, but yeah, if somebody was, if Redlands needed pickles and then.
But that's where that new level comes in.
Right, the key is the cap. As long as the cap's reasonable, you know, whether they're,
And works with everybody.
And the logical connection between benefiting the people, because we're creating this benefit with taxpayer money, right? So it makes sense that the people who are providing the money to the city in the form of taxes should be the ones that get the benefit of this program. And I think we're doing that if we limit it to taxpayers or tax-paying businesses and exclude the businesses that are not paying commercial property taxes.
and that's not necessarily a change,
Can you just say
just a further
that you
clarification.
have to have a storefront?
Yeah, that's what it says now, doesn't it? It says
Yeah,
something about it.
I was suggesting that clarification because that's black and white. Storefront, it can be subjective what that means.
We got one.
You may or may not be a commercial property paying taxes.
Oh, but it wasn't.
But if you got a
If that means they can
storefront,
prove
you
that
know,
their residence has a
Their house
storefront.
could be a storefront.
So there may be some opportunity to clarify that a little
How's it
bit.
going?
You coming through?
Yeah.
No worries, come on through.
Did you park out there? Yeah. Why don't you just drive around, because right down below is where the main entrance is.
Thank you.
You bet.
Just had somebody walk in, John, who was not here for the meeting.
We're gonna play a quick game of hoops. You in?
So,
He's sleeping.
so we got some work to do to reconsider what the limits should be. We got some work to do on the funding campaign, and I think you've got really good data already, Kelly, to help support that.
Well, I think what I'd like to do for the furtherment of this program, however it decides to do that, is get a better breakdown of exactly how many dollars were spent at these businesses, and that'll give you a really good idea of, you know, because right now, how I had this spreadsheet set up was just simply based upon, Fairway had a limit of $500, so I knew I needed to keep that very much separate. And then the other businesses were just, like I said, $1,000 at one time, which was pretty easy to do. So I could certainly do that, but of those dollars, I think I'd like for you guys to see exactly who spent what where, and
I would anticipate like a holiday relaunch.
Well, I think this will give us ample time to go to the businesses with these, I see this as packets, once you get the information, put the information for each one of them, fairway, and here's your packet, here's the money spent, here's what we can do moving forward, and this is the date we'd like to start it, and then this is kind of our package for Peosta pays, you know, you can reimburse here or whatever. If there's an easier way to do it, is there an easier way other than checks? Is there a card or some kind of non-fee? You know, I don't know. Just like a Peosta Pay. It's kind of like a rewards card you got for Subway.
Iowa City uses the card.
You know what I mean? Like a Subway card. You just get it reloaded if you get it versus having to, I don't know, or have it all virtual. They log in, they can adjust their account, but that's all work on the back end for us. So as long as it's easy for us to do it, it doesn't cost. or
right,
take
and I think that those will be things that you guys can discuss and talk about when we provide you with the information, and then going forward, decide what you know, how you want to see this program continue, and again, supported by, you know, the business I guess I would like to see, the ones that have already submitted these forms, at least get something back. With that said, that does mean, asking you to put in another at least $475 or $500 to keep that account open, because I think we have to probably have a minimal of a $25 balance or something like that. That's just my asking.
Well, I think that if we've got people that have turned in receipts, we kind of have to pay it out, don't we?
Well, I mean, again, that's
How was
a
that worded?
political question. We
It wasn't.
we said that we reserve the right to change and start the program at any time. Because if you recall, we threw this baby up on the fly. So I think I sort of anticipated that a day like this was coming. I didn't think it would come as soon. But yeah, but I mean, I think it's reasonable, even if everybody just gets a $10. They just get a, one round, we can get them something back. But I think we can put together a really nice statement. If this has been the investment, we're gonna suspend the program temporarily, we're, making it better and working on developing private partnerships, and we'll see you again in the holiday season.
So by holiday season, you're thinking November?
Yeah, I think, because really, ideally though, if we're gonna fundraise or try to support PCEA, I feel the need to do that at one time. I think we should get our crap together, go out with an ask, and letting them know that their contribution is supporting Peosta Pay and workforce housing. I mean, just like a number of a PCEA determine what are their core missions or goals or something, and then so then when somebody writes that check, they're like, oh, this is what I'm buying into.
So we'll consider it officially suspended until November or later. That's target date.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we'll go back and redefine what it is with applying what we've learned.
Couldn't
And
we
we'll
make
just-
this a seasonal thing as a portion of the bigger picture? And just do it seasonally,
Yeah,
and it wouldn't cost as much.
right.
And then we could still have like memberships or something like that, but we see that it works, we got this example.
Yeah.
And we should okay, 500 for her to finish up.
Some of the outstanding stuff that you have, is it people that have already received money previous to this?
No, I took them, I pulled them. So honestly, it probably would be doubled if I would, what I did is I kept them alphabetically so I can go in there and pull them up and see if they've received anything from 20 and above. I sent them out a very nice email that said, thank you for your participation. Due to
I mean,
the
you would hate to
rules."
say to these people who turned in and have not received anything before.
And these names towards the bottom of that list are ones that have not received anything.
And that's what some of them said, like, oh crap, I hate it, I've been sitting on these for a
Yeah.
while, so it's why it'd be nice to take care of these and.
If we're gonna put more money to this to close out this, should we also leave enough seed money so we can start up the second one without Kelly having to come back and ask again? Like if we're gonna
No,
buy,
she's well, I don't know, she's gonna come back with a whole plan.
Well, what do we need to keep
Right.
the account open? I guess that's probably what we need in there at least. Unless if you see,
Come back.
would there be any need? I would repay for that through the city anyway. Like materials or.
I mean, if she's gonna need to buy another box of checks,
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
I wouldn't want her to have to come back and ask for $20 to buy checks. Or $80, whatever it is.
What 500 do it? You asked for
$500 is gonna get you the checks that we need, and paying out everybody that we have received. At least $20. The minimum of
was a
$20.
nice little note saying thank you for.
And I believe that, I can't say for sure because I don't know, Fidelity's minimum, but I believe that would be $25 kept in the account to keep that account open.
do 600.
So,
just to
like Jim was saying, if you want $500 to finish it out, and another $500 in there to keep the checking account open, and when this started up again, then there's money there to purchase the checks.
or whatever.
Yeah, we talked about as part of the funding campaign, if we're gonna get little door decals to make, you know, that we need cash, Kelly would need cash to make that happen.
Would that come out of that fund, or what would, everything would? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to eventually transition this to a whole separate QuickBooks or some other lower grade accounting software.
Oh, yeah. So maybe $1,500. Because if you want to make a decent rollout for this, you should put some money in there. This is, especially if you're going to businesses, you want to have a pretty good campaign.
Oh, good print material.
Yeah.
Good news is it's new fiscal year tomorrow, so you got all your money available to you.
So, since it's not on the agenda though,
Well, it's not gonna exceed, it's not a dollar amount that requires council formal approval, so as long as, obviously, we still want you guys to decide, but at whatever point you decide, we can, as soon as you say go, we can.
So we make a motion to put so much in the account, or?
No, you just tell us.
I like Jerry's idea of $1,500, leave $1,000 left for miscellaneous to get it started up again.
Start doing some print materials and stuff. It's going to go pretty quick. Especially if you get decent vinyl decals for doors. Mark 15.
John, the conversation seems to be converging at $1,500. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's fair. I think, you know, following the conversation, I think $1,500 is pretty fair to avail what we have, get some checks, and have some money in there when we start this back up again. I think that's fair.
Anybody disagree?
Is it a total of 5,000 before? Yes. Okay.
I'm hearing no disagreement with that. Are there any other?
Well, thank you, and please feel free to ask any questions that you have down the road. Again, I'm not do some updating to all of this.
When would you expect to have the majority of the data available to start putting those statistics together? I know there's a lag.
Yeah, we definitely want that to process our new base statement. Well,
Yeah.
June and probably July for sure, because a lot of these aren't gonna clear until July or maybe August.
At least September. Before you get
And that would give everything, that would
Yeah.
know the receipts, that would know where checks have been spent.
Okay.
And that's fine, because we can start kind of designing some of that collateral, it's just plug numbers in.
Yep. I'm just trying to get an idea of time frame.
Well, that's the money spent information, at least it's the residual checks.
Where the checks are going.
Yeah, and that might be outstanding for a while. It might be that 60, 90-day cutoff, because some of those are probably not getting cashed.
You're right. We may end up just having to work with what we got. I think I should tell a compelling story to some of our local businesses, though.
Yep.
You bet. Kelly, this was really ambiguous, and you took it on and made it work. Thank you. Great job.
Thanks.
Were there any other agenda items, Karen? All right. Think we could take a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
That you something about a closed meeting or something.
I'll second.
Karen, aye.
Okay.